It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on this terrific Tuesday, the 18th of July. Summer League has come to an end. Did you see Imani Bates was second team all Summer League?
A champion.
Don't let Summer League fool you. Maybe I discount him too much. Maybe he's going to grow up. Maybe he'll defend. Maybe he'll gain some weight. What do you have, 19 last night in the championship game? Mobley was really the star. But
Mobley was really good. And Sam Merrill was really good, too.
Yeah. Those were the two that were by far superior to Imani Bates. But I don't believe Imani Bates will be able to operate against NBA players, not rookies and second-year guys who struggled. I just don't see it carrying over. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he put such a bad taste in my mouth in Memphis that I'm having a hard time to believe it. He can shoot. There's no question about that. And he's got the length to get that shot off. So he'll be a catch-and-shoot guy. I think he's going to be a rotation player.
Sure.
I just don't think he'll ever be a star, and I've yet to see that he can defend.
I'll say this. Defensively, I haven't seen a ton in Summer League. I've watched every Summer League he played in. And I'll say this. It seems like from hearing him in interviews and stuff, it sounds like he's in a better space mentally. I mean, I'll be honest.
Maybe his dad's not around.
That's probably
when he went to
point.
Eastern Michigan, part of the deal when he went back there was his father had access to the locker room.
It's crazy.
Even at halftime of games.
It's insane. That's insane.
I cannot believe that coach allowed that because there wasn't that much leverage the Bates family had at that point. Hardaway had already said, I don't want him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that Eastern Michigan team won, 8 games with Imani Bates?
Right.
Without Imani Bates, they might have won 4. So I think he was just desperate.
I don't know that. I don't really know that. Sometimes when you got a bad apple,
that's true.
Splits the locker room.
That's true.
There's
That's
the thing
very
about
true.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have won 10 without him. Who knows? I mean,
maybe
8 games? Come on.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I think I saw this Summer League. I saw him pass the ball better than he did at Memphis. I saw him rebound the ball much better than he did at Memphis. And it seems like he has a lot of guys in his corner, and his mindset is much different than it was at Memphis. I think when he was at Memphis, and obviously, I mean, no fault to him. I mean, his dad has just kind of had built this entire world around him all the way growing up, built a school for him, started an AAU team for him.
Right.
I mean, everything was about Imani Bates from the time he was 12 till the time he stepped foot at Memphis. And so I'm sure he did have a very big head. But after a bad year at Memphis, having to go to Eastern Michigan for a year, I think that humbles you a little. And it sounds like he now has the mindset of, I just need an opportunity and I'm going to make the most of it. And I don't know. I felt like I saw a different Imani Bates in Summer League.
I'll say this. I never saw this, but I was told that Bates, when his father was not present in practice, was a very attentive guy. As soon as his dad walked in, he was like a different guy. Hard to reach, sometimes obstinate in the opposite way, and it was not good. And that's why Penny, even with the father asking, pleading kind of, let him stay, Penny didn't want him. And, you're talking about a guy who's 50th in the draft. Mm-hmm. He's certainly not first in the draft like everybody had said he would be. But I do think he's going to end up being a rotational guy. I don't believe he'll ever be a star. But, heck, I didn't think Edwards would be a great player based on the games that I saw when he was at the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
And I was really wrong about that is for sure. All right, so Summer League ends. Baseball heats up. We got to talk with Tim Doolin, last segment of the show, about Shohei Ohtani. So you're a baseball guy.
I am.
And I love baseball, as most people know. Shohei Ohtani last night hit his 35th home run. He is on the pace that Aaron Judge was last year when he broke the American League record and had 62 home runs. When you package this with how good he's been on the mound, it's an amazing story. It really is. But strictly speaking offensively, does he break the American League record this year? Tough question for you.
That's a tough question. Is he in the American League when the season ends? Is a question I'll ask you. I say no.
Where do you think he'll be? Across town with the Dodgers? Would he go to Seattle?
I would love that.
Does it really matter to this Chase? Like, you think if he goes to the National League, he can't catch that?
No, I mean, I think he could.
But what happens then? If he's in the National League,
yeah, who knows?
If he were to go to the Dodgers, how
question.
do they work that?
I have no idea. That's a question for Tim Doohan, I guess. I have no idea. That is a good question.
I'll ask him that right off the bat, and he'll be mad. He'll go, what? Day 2 of SEC Media Days, and in just a matter of moments, honestly, we'll be talking with our friend Brett Norsworthy. He is at SEC Media Days in Nashville, Day 2, which consists of Vandy, Georgia, Auburn, and Mississippi State. I'll be curious to see what he thought about yesterday. Greg Sankey, the commissioner, came on, talked NIL, and in particular, and, people, I don't think they've seen this side of it because it really doesn't get publicized much, but some coach might go, hey, I'm going to give you $80,000 if you come, and then $20,000 comes. What does the kid do? What recourse has he got?
Question. Yeah.
And I don't know how often it happens, but I think it happens.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we'll weigh in. I'm curious because Brett's been around to see Roy Kramer. He was around to see Mike Slive. What does he think of the job so far done by the commissioner that just got extended, Greg Sankey? And we'll chat with him. In between, our friend TJ Reeves will join us, and we are on the eve of making golf picks next tomorrow on who will win the Open Championship. And it is kind of interesting. Just for marketing's sake, it was always the British Open when I was a kid. Now it's the Open Championship.
Yeah.
But I think the European players always called it the Open. Not to be confused with the U.S. Open.
For sure.
And we say the U.S. We don't say, hey, he won the Open. Mm-hmm. We say he won the U.S. Open, which is the toughest test of golf, supposedly every year. I don't know if L.A. Country Club lived up to that. But anyway, we'll chat with TJ about SEC Media Days because he's always got interest in that with the University of Florida. You realize I got to give some equal time here, even though it doesn't happen until next week. But the AAC Media Days are next Monday and Tuesday. They are at the Lowe's Hotel, which is a nice place, in Arlington, Texas, between Dallas and Fort Worth, which has become a big entity in its own. Ryan Silverfield has got 4 players there. He's got Jalen Allen. He's got Simeon Blair on the defensive side. He's got Jacob Likes. And he's got Seth Hennigan on the offensive side. I believe South Florida, which, is in Tampa, I think they got a quarterback coming. Pretty sure they do. But we'll mention that just a little bit. In the meantime, I'm in the Family Leisure Studios, and they are cruising in the summer clearance sale. They've asked for your help. You've helped them. They're clearing that inventory off. They've sold a bunch of do-it-yourself pools because folks are saving $1,000 when they do that. And they got that special 24-foot round pool that's less than $2,000. They got play gyms that are $18.99 and patio furniture up to 30% off. As soon as I leave here today, I am going to see my friends at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis. The lots are full again. Business is humming. The crew that's been there for 15 or 20 years, they're all there to help you. They got a new incentive on the G70. That's the little rocket ship of a car. You finance with Genesis, you will get a $1,000 rebate. They're paying you to do business at the best place to buy a car, Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, right at the corner of Highway 78 Lamar and Craft Road, the first exit in Mississippi. Let's go down or over to Nashville for SEC Media Days, brought to you by First National Bank and Trust. Jason's Deli. Landers Ford Collierville, Ronnie Grizzani's, Gould's, The Butcher Shop, Memphis Tourism and the Sports Council, The Commissary, and Jim's Place Grill. Day 2 with our friend Brett Norsworthy. I know it's hopping. I heard the Mississippi State partner of Richard Cross, I guess, on the talk show in that state, talking a bunch about scheduling and things of that nature. Yesterday was the opening day, and the commissioner, Greg Sankey, spoke. He spoke a lot about NIL. Let me start with, you've been around 28 years there now. You've seen Roy Kramer. You've seen Mike Slive. How would you where would you put Greg Sankey in as effectiveness as a commissioner? Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. It's remarkable. To do what he's done, I thought it was impossible to replace Roy Kramer. Mike Slive did it easily. Then I thought there's just no way to keep this going with really every box that Mike Slive checked, and the best one is just what a nice gentle man, an intelligent man that he was. So then here comes Greg Sankey, the CFO of the league, the bean counter, the money guy. And he steps in, and he does it, and he does it with his own charm and affability. And you almost wonder, is it chicken or egg? Could almost anybody, I'm not talking to anybody, but a lot of people, could they do it with all the King's horses and all the King's men of lieutenants and networks that are helping them, their own network? You wonder if just almost anybody could do it almost on autopilot, but he's doing it. And Greg Sankey has distinguished himself as the most powerful person in college sports, and he really did it 3 summers ago, summer of 2020, when the commissioner of the Big Ten was right there letting Harvard and the Ivy League dictate to him the way of the sport. And Greg Sankey said, no, our medical people say we can play. We got to have safeguards. We got to be smart. We got to be health conscious, but we're playing college football, and he never yielded. That's where he separated himself from the rest of the sport.
And, of course, that Big Ten commissioner is gone now. He's the general manager of the Chicago Bears.
Running the Bears.
Which worries
and we'll
me,
move him out of Soldier Field.
Which worries me quite a bit, to be honest with you, and it looks that way. That could happen forever. And, as we get older, we get set in our ways. I can't imagine a better commissioner than Mike Slive. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because here's a guy who started a league. He was the pioneer. He formed the Great Midwest. He started a league from scratch, then sort of expanded it into CUSA, and then took over what arguably would be, and let's face it, it's either the Big Ten or the SEC, took an established league and literally put it on new financial ground. So I don't know, because it's not Greg Sankey's fault, but he's not going to have the background or the accomplishments totally like Mike Slive did. But he's done an amazing job, as you just said, or so it seems to me. You would know better. You've watched it more closely. And I thought his comments yesterday on the NIL were pretty interesting. Give me your take.
And we will have Greg Sankey join us this afternoon on Sports Time, and looking forward to that. It was pointed comments on NIL. He wants to go the more federal level. It's one thing that I just a central disagreement I have with him. I don't trust Washington, D.C. to do anything and to not do anything well. I want to keep it a state issue. Now, what he's scared of is a state issue, and it's what the Missouri State Legislature, what they just did overwhelmingly. All these different states are trying to decorate the tree to make it the best deal, especially in the SEC, of any of the 12 states the SEC now encompasses, bringing in Oklahoma next year. It is a battle in these state legislatures, largely, I'm not being political, I'm just telling the facts, largely Republican-controlled, with Republican state legislatures and a Republican governor, almost all of them veto-proof. Kentucky would be different. Kentucky has a Democrat governor, but in the General Assembly, it's Republican control, and they have a governor's race this fall, as does Louisiana, that has a Democrat governor. But they're all decorating this tree to get the best, most cozy NIL deal for these states to kind of use it as a cudgel against Big Ten states, against Pac-12 states, against ACC states. And I disagree with the commissioner on this, and I'll respectfully lodge my disagreement with him. I don't want Washington in control of one thing. Not one thing. I want them to do the two central things I think they should: defend us and make sure the mail gets delivered.
I will say I think it'll become a moot point in the end, because by the time they decide some sort of uniformity, they're going to have to go to making student athletes employees and splitting up part of the pie. The revenue.
Sankey's very opposed to the employee status.
Everybody is, for various reasons, but will never settle on the NIL. And another point is there's got to be safeguards for the players. And this was brought up, I think, in his conversation where, and I didn't realize this was so prevalent, but several players promised NIL money that never was delivered upon. What recourse have they got, right? Well,
I think tough toenails is kind of the recourse when you're really out there on the High Wire Act that we're now in, and it's everything is very, very transactional and very there's no long-term contracts really, except for the coaches, and they all can be bought out. I think we're out there in a High Wire Act of really kind of law of the jungle. The strongest survive.
Any other stories yesterday that tickled your fancy?
Yeah, I think Jimbo Fisher and his confidence for his upcoming season. He's got to be confident with that kind of money in play for him. I think the money, sure, it has to matter, that kind of life-changing money. But I think for his own personal pride, he wants to do well on the football field. He wants to win, and he wants to beat Nick Saban for the second straight time at College Station at Kyle Field this year.
Fourth quarter, 2.5 minutes left. Fourth down, you're 40. 4th and 3. Who's making the call, Jimbo Fisher or Bobby Petrino?
Oh, that is a great question. And, boy, you put me right out there in no man's land with down and distance and time and everything. You've done this a time or two. I think for it to be successful, he's got to let Bobby Petrino do it. And, Dave, we just know these guys are hardly ever going to turn over their future and their survivability to someone else. They're going to take over. They're going to be the last and loudest voice in that headset.
I cannot imagine Jimbo Fisher letting Bobby Petrino make that call. I really can't.
Because if it goes terribly, he's got to take the hit.
Exactly.
If it goes well, does he really want to give the credit? Because, hey, we're paying you this much, but he really made the call.
Or let's just say during the other parts of the game or the season, he was going, man, I don't really like that call. I wouldn't do that. And so now as time goes on, there's some history there, and his job is connected to it. I just don't see that happening. I think that's going to be fun kind of to watch
it
all
is.
year long.
I know for a fact a few years ago, and I'm going to say not Jim McElwain, maybe Doug Nussmeyer. I forget who the offensive coordinator was at Alabama. Coach Saban's been through a lot, but I know for a fact through the headset he sent through in very colorful language, run the ball or find your own way back to Tuscaloosa. It was a road game.
Oh, I can remember the Chuck Stobart days when the president made him hire a buddy of his from Utah. And Lane Rollins would have lunch with that offensive consultant every week. And Chuck wasn't listening to him. And the president, V. Lane, called Chuck in one day and he goes, how's it going with my guy? Oh, Chuck says he's great. He's so helpful in the film meetings and all this other stuff. Part of the reason why Chuck Stobart was let go. Chuck wasn't going to let this guy make the calls.
Never.
Chuck had been an OC at Michigan and Southern Cal. He didn't feel like he needed the president to tell him how to run his offense.
And that's kind of how I am on NIL. I don't want Washington telling the good folks of Arkansas and Mississippi and Texas and Louisiana how to run college sports. They're $22 trillion in the hole. I don't want them running anything.
Vandy, Georgia, Auburn, Mississippi State. What are the what are the storylines you're looking forward to hearing about today?
Well, it starts with Kirby, with the national champions, back-to-back national champions, 15-0. 15-0.
Wow.
And Dave, and Brian and Jay Morgan laugh at me over, we remember very well when the NFL regular season schedule was 14, and during our lives, it was 12. And Georgia goes out there last year, and I know some of the games are gimmies on the day they put it on the schedule, but they go out there last year and whip off 15-0 and win a back-to-back national champion, now going for the unheard of, even Alabama. If you're trying to do something that Nick Saban, Alabama, hadn't been able to do, you know you're not walking on the moon, you're walking on the face of Saturn.
I do remember when there were 12 NFL games, though. There were like 6 exhibition games. True. They played 18 games.
Into late September.
Yeah, exactly. All right, enjoy, my friend. I know you will. And I'm going to take the next 3 days off. But
you got it.
I know you
be
will
safe.
You'll be chatting.
I know where you're going.
Jay
Watch that weather. Don't let it change on you quickly. I know, but a thunderstorm blow in. Be careful if it gets thunder and lightning.
Did I tell you 2 years ago we were hiking in Park City, and the day was like 75 degrees at the base, and it was a long hike. We took like a 6-mile hike up, 3 miles up, 3 miles back. We get up there, we're enjoying lunch on this lake, and it started to snow.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Freezing.
And that kind of change. And I've heard so many lightning accidents with people that are on those kind of hikes when that weather changes in a blink of an eye. Be safe, and Jay Morgan and I will visit tomorrow and Thursday.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Enjoy.
You got it.
That's our man. That is Brett Norsworthy. He is at SEC Media Days, brought to you by First National Bank and Trust, Jason's Deli, Landers Ford, Collierville, Ronnie Grizzani's, Gould's, The Butcher Shop, Memphis Tourism and Sports Council, The Commissary, and Jim's Place Grill. We are, as we mentioned, in the Family Leisure Studios, but I got to tell you, you got to go play golf at a public golf course. You got to go try the new Pine Hill. If you haven't played, and they just finished the Overton Park Open, 75 years of that youth tournament. If you haven't played the new Overton Park, you got to do it. It's a real treat. Now, I'm not going to say this is for juniors anymore. You know, at Audubon, when they're done, they're going to have a 6-hole course that really will be for juniors, all par 3s, I'm pretty sure. Overton Park is so beautiful, but they've made it a fairly difficult golf course. Perfect for good juniors. I don't know about beginners anymore, but I know it's cool, and I know you'll love it, and it's very walkable. And if you're a young guy who's playing and walking, you don't pay for any greens fees. You can't beat the way they are remaking Memphis public golf. We pause for a second. When we come back to Tampa, we go. TJ Reeves is standing by.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the Little Red Tractor from Case IH, the Farmall, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Well, Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list, from hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farmall that's right for you.
O'Reilly Auto Parts provides more than just the right parts for your repair. Our professional parts people can also offer free check engine light diagnosis. We can scan your vehicle and provide a list of possible fixes. Find the right parts for you or recommend a great local repair shop. Don't ignore your check engine light. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
MVP's bonus days are back at Lowe's. Find special savings on top brands like DeWalt. Right now, save $60 when you buy a DeWalt impact driver or drill for just $99 each. Plus, MVP's Pro Rewards members will earn 3 times the bonus points when shopping the Pro Zone. Shop in-store and online today. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. DeWalt offer valid 7/17 through 8/2. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 7/28. Subject to change.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Lonely feeling deep inside.
Just a reminder how hot it can be. Yesterday I played in John Neal's Courage for Cancer. That was the golf tournament out at Southwind. Boy, does TPC Southwind look good, by the way. I mean, they don't let you on the fairways at all. It's cart path only. I don't blame them. They got to get this thing ready. It's in great shape. The rough is tough. Always a hard golf course. But I was so hot at the end of the day. Currently, it's 87. It's going to be 96. Feels like triple digits. So be careful if you're playing golf. But in particular, make sure your air conditioning system is ready. 384-3511. That's the number to Conway. Give them a call. Get that 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up where they come in and they really make your system efficient. It lasts longer. It saves you money on your MLGW bill. They go outside. They clean those outside units. Maybe some of those haven't been done for a couple of years. They do it right. All the dirt, the leaves, the grime, they get it all out of there. And then you're set to go. Your system is really going to last. Mine did for 18 years. 384-3511. It's all because of those Conway tune-ups to a place that could be even hotter. That would be Tampa, Florida. TJ Reeves standing by. And TJ, this has been a year of a lot of added expense in your life, you told me.
Well, it's good to be with you, and it is actually a little overcast here, although we have been in 105, 107 heat index here.
Lord.
It seems to be hot everywhere in July. I know you're headed, which we'll talk about maybe more in a minute if you want, to New Mexico, not too distant away in Arizona, where I have friends. You can go fry an egg outside on, like, the concrete in about 3 minutes.
Oh, man.
Because it's 118 degrees. Thermometer, not a heat index.
I heard
it's
a
crazy.
guy in Phoenix sat on a bench that was like a concrete bench, not realizing how hot it was, and burned his rear end.
I believe it.
Because it's triple digits there, and I know it's dry heat, but it's really triple digits.
No doubt.
And
I don't believe I've
mentioned
mentioned this to you. I'm headed to Las Vegas for the World Welterweight title fight that is coming not this weekend, but next
You
weekend.
did mention
Errol
that,
Spence
yeah.
and Terrence Crawford are fighting on pay-per-view, and I have a feeling I'm not going to get much of a break. It's probably going to be 110, 115, something like that out of the desert. But like you said, it's a dry heat. Like stick your head in an oven hot.
Years ago, this is many years ago, at a different station, you remember Forrest Goodman, who was the longtime pregame and postgame host for the
R.I.P.
Tiger
Love
broadcast.
Forrest, yes.
Yes, he was terrific. So we were doing a show. It was at a different place, and I don't know what the deal was, but Vegas, the hotel, what is it called? The Stratosphere that's got a roller coaster in it?
Yes, at the top of it, yes.
Yes. And
all
so,
the way up that goes around it, yes.
Right. So they, for whatever reason, I don't know if they were opening up that roller coaster or whatever it was, but they were having radio stations send guys on a weekly basis to come up there and do their shows from that booth on
Are you
top.
going to tell me that you rode that roller coaster with Forrest Goodman? Because why have you not told me this up until now?
I don't know. It never came up. But we went there, and I will tell you, at night, it was like 98 degrees. 98 at night, and it was about this time of year. It was crazy. So
but you did not, you're confirming here, you did not ride that roller coaster?
No, I'm not confirming that. I rode that roller coaster. Are you kidding me?
That's amazing.
I was there for
at night. Did you ride it at night?
I think we were there for 3 days. No, we went in the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, those, and they have some other crazy ones too. I think I told you the story just real quick because I don't think everybody's enamored right now with our vacation plans and previous stories. You want to talk some British Open, I'm sure, or the Open Championship SEC Media Days. But the twins and I went zip-lining for their birthday in Las Vegas while we were out there at 11:45 at night, and same thing. It was like 100 degrees. So it is a different situation when you're out there.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. So I'll report back at a later date about how it goes next week.
One last thing I did not prepare you for. We'll get to that other stuff, but this struck me, and I was going to talk about it in my open, but I wanted to go to Brett at SEC Media Days in Nashville. Does the name Daniel Weinman mean anything to you?
No, should it?
Well, He's been around I guess we could say the sporting world for 16 years. He's 35 years old. He just won the World Series of Poker. Now, I remember, seriously,
we're going to know who he is in the coming hours and days, right?
I just remember, like, when you won the World Series of Poker, you got this, like, diamond or gold bracelet, right? And you got $1 million. Do you know what the number one purse for winning the World Series of Poker?
I'm guessing, total guess, I'll go with inflation in today's times, $7 million. Am I close or am I way over?
You're way under. 12.1 million. 10,043 players. You were close to number 2 money. Number 2 money won $6 million. Number 3 won $4 million. When did we get such big money in poker?
Well, it just tells you how popular and prominent. It's not as much anymore on TV. Remember the rage in the 2000s when it was on TV everywhere into the early 2010s? I mean, you could not flip around, especially in the summertime, and not watch whomever playing poker on TV. That is useless for TV time, but that is amazing. How about for the person that finishes second? That's quite a consolation prize.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to finish second and make $5,000, but
$6 million
to finish second and make $6 million, I could handle being second in that scenario. There are no losers in that scenario.
No losers. I mean, with $6 million, you can sit back and be okay for a long time. All right, so SEC stories yesterday. Sankey talked about NIL and the mess that it's in, and he wants Congress to help out. And you hear other voices like Brett Norsworthy, who, and I kind of side with him. I'm not sure that I want Congress working on this because they have enough problems to begin with, and they don't have a consensus on most things. I kind of think it's a moot point because I think there's going to end up being a declaration by agents of players that are going to say we want shares of the revenues. They're going to end up being student employees, and they'll get a percentage of the revenues. I think that's where this whole thing is going to end. Give me your take on what you think is the inevitability of the structure that we see with money and college football.
The whole thing is a mess. We have lived long enough where there is now paying of players, and what a surprise that, I'm being sarcastic, the NCAA has no clue and no control over how to regulate it, especially when the Southeastern Conference in particular has not just a river, but oceans of money flowing through it every which direction to be able to pay these guys. And the fundamental premise is twofold. Number one, the whole name, image, and likeness thing was supposed to be what is your value as an individual in the marketplace. The NIL part of this was not supposed to be how do we recruit, how do we lure people here and offer them money regardless of whether they would have made it on their own, where they're making six figures to come play offensive line for Texas A&M, which, by the way, was Nick Saban's whole point last offseason. That's not name, image, and likeness. That's essentially we are luring you with money to come here and play offensive line here. Not that you could make it on your own. So that's a mess. That's the first part of it. The second part of it is how does the money filter down to the rest of college athletics and the rest of the athletes? Because by and large, most of them aren't going to make a bunch of money on NIL. Now, if you have a track star, a snow skier, or somebody that hustles now that's good looking, that's a female, let's say that's a volleyball player or a basketball player, there are exceptions, but by and large, most of the other non-football, non-basketball sports, they don't get anything. They don't get very much of this. And so that's got to change, or at least it varies greatly from school to school and conference to conference. So it's no surprise that it's a mess, and I don't know that it's going to get straightened out anytime soon. Not in 2023 or 2024, it doesn't look like.
No. And I think as Brett made the point, every state can try to make their deal better, more lucrative to get the better athletes to come. Missouri's making an effort to do that right now. And here's my issue, too, is coaches making promises to players who have no recourse, really, and then not delivering the money they promised. That's a real issue.
And then you go down
Didn't
the
that
whole
happen
road.
in your state? in fact, in
yes,
Florida?
and it's different in each state and each situation, and you go down the whole road of how many of the old guard coaches at college basketball and college football want to hang around and keep doing this, where you are just constantly having to not only recruit but re-recruit and sell your existing players on please don't transfer to another place because of whatever they're trying to lure you with NIL money. And a lot of the college basketball coaches, I guess, have continued to talk about this over the last 2 years about how much worse it's gotten with I have to re-recruit my own team starting like in February or March for all off season to make sure that I'm not losing guys. And so it is a drain and it's a mess, and don't hold your breath on the NCAA or Congress solving.
I'm with you there. And the portal is as crazy. I mean, the combination makes it nuts with COVID. If Memphis gets DeAndre Williams back, which would be great, there'd only be 2 returning players from Memphis' team last year. At the moment, only 1. It's El Nutso, and that's where we are right now. Okay. We got the British Open. The winner of the Scottish Open was Rory McIlroy. In the 9 years that Rory McIlroy has not won a major, do you know how many tournaments he's won?
I believe we were covering this before. It's like 15?
19.
Is it 12?
19.
It's 19
The
now.
Scottish Open was his 19th tournament win since he last won.
And what does that tell you?
9 years
And what
ago.
does that tell you?
It tells me that his game is really good, and he's had a lot of close calls, and I don't know well, maybe it's putting. I don't know what it is that has been the difference, because the swing, the talent has always been there. What does it say to you?
It says it's that difficult to win major championships. And I know a lot of guys are breaking through to win their first major. What is it, 5 and counting? It's either 4 or 5 and counting are first-time major winners now in a row. And the hard part is, how do you win the second one? Because, again, in the time period, and it wasn't that long ago, when McIlroy was dominating in major championships, destroyed everybody at the U.S. Open, destroyed everybody by 5 strokes, 7 strokes at the PGA Championship. At Kiwa, we were talking about, is this guy going to win 10 majors? Is he going to win 15 majors? And how that conversation has now halted to, can he win another one, including he won on this course previously for the Open Championship. It just shows you it's that hard to put it together for 72 holes, to putt like you're talking about. You got to be able to putt in majors. There's no doubt tee to green, he is as good as anybody in the game. But the flat stick at times, and it was the case at the U.S. Open in L.A., he could not make the putts to make the move to eventually catch Ricky Fowler and Wyndham Clark at the end of that one. So we'll see. I mean, he is definitely a fan favorite, mega fan favorite there, a lot to live up to, and this will be interesting because if he doesn't do it again in this circumstance, the British media, more so than anything, is just going to continue to rip the guy on, yeah, it's great that you can win the Scottish Open or go win some PGA Tour events or wherever it is, but when are we ever going to see you hold up the claret jug, put on a green jacket? He's never won the Masters. When are we going to see that from this guy?
Well, you know what? He's been in the top 5 at the U.S. Open, last major. He was at the last Open Championship in the top 5, had a chance to win it, and the putts, as you just mentioned, didn't happen. He's 34 years old, so he's still got time. I'll be shocked if he doesn't win 2 or 3 more majors, because he is that good. I think it'll happen. It's the odds. Look, do you know how many runner-ups Jack Nicklaus had?
It was 18, correct?
18 majors that he won. I want to say it was 19 runner-ups.
19 that he won, 18 runner-ups. It's 37, I believe, is the total, first and second.
18 and 19.
So then it's 18 and 19.
Yeah.
It's 37 times.
Right. Exactly.
First or second in a major.
So you know
That's
what?
Incredible.
He's working on the other side of it, I guess, to get that down, and then he'll start winning majors. I think he's got a chance. Only Mickelson has won a Scottish and a British in the same year, and I think he's got the chance to do it for sure. Last thing with you, anything that you garnered from those meetings on the framework by the Senate?
We were talking about it last week because it was going on while your show was going on. And, of course, I know you got to go. Jay Monahan is now back. John Rahm, by the way, just a little while ago at Royal Liverpool, basically backed Monahan and said he's got the chance to earn everybody's trust back if he can complete this deal. That's on the heels of several players voicing that they're not sure that they can ever fully trust him again after he went and did the deal. It's not been explained where he's been. He still hasn't explained where he's been.
Do you think he will?
What's that?
Do you think he will when he comes back?
I don't know. But there's some belief that the players were so unhappy that this was like a mutual thing of you need to go away for a little while. And so the two things that they got in that framework were litigation ends and stop rating our players off the PGA Tour. And now, I don't know how much you talked about this, that second component is gone. So
right.
If Live Golf can lure PGA Tour players again, if they would want to jump, they're able to do that because what happened is the Department of Justice basically said this is monopolistic.
Right,
you can't tell these guys that they can't go where the grass is greener if they want to.
Well, but here's the deal. So legally,
we'll see if they get it done as the backdrop of the British Open goes on here this week.
Legally, they say they can raid, but that doesn't mean that Liv is going to raid, right? I mean, you can say you can't do this, but you can't make them sign them either.
Well, here's what to keep an eye on as July ends and becomes August and becomes September. Where are the specifics? The specifics of how the new company is going to work, what the schedule is, how many events. If we get to August 15th, August 31st, and you don't still have specifics, then I think it's less and less likely that any of this gets done, and then look out. The chaos will begin anew. I'm not saying lawsuits, but there are a lot of PGA Tour players that I'm sure right now are saying, what's the viability of our tour, our livelihood, as it relates to whatever it is you can agree to? And if it's going to take you 3 or 4 months and you still can't explain it, then basically all you did was a temporary ceasefire. It's a mess.
Yep,
so stay tuned.
All right.
Stay tuned.
And we shall. Thank you, TJ. Talk to you next week.
Be well, be safe with our buddy George and your other friend with the hiking and the mountains and all of that, and we'll report back, and I will be headed to Las Vegas. I'll talk to you, and then I'll head to Las Vegas next week for the fight, so you be well.
All right, looking forward to that. That is our man TJ Reeves down in Tampa. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. Matt and his team of professionals do insurance a different way. It's collaboration. They get to know you, and they will... Once they've known your family, what your budget is, what's important to protect, they'll protect you. Whether that's home, auto, life insurance, they do it. Same thing, same kind of formula for small to mid-sized businesses when it comes to commercial insurance. They know you, your employees, your product. They focus you out a little bit and forecast what it's going to be like, what's your budget, and then they protect you. All you got to do is make the call, 901-386-4777, which spells GER because they're proud supporters of the Tigers. 901-386-GER. Get protected with the Eflin Insurance Team. We talk baseball with our guru. That's Tim Doolin. He comes your way in a minute.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I think it's the slow smoking over pecan and hickory wood.
It's the secret combination of dry rub spices.
Maybe it isn't one single thing that makes Central Barbecue special.
I didn't say it was one thing. I said there's probably one thing that makes Central Barbecue special that's more important than the other things that make Central Barbecue special.
It's the 24-hour meat marinade.
That was the name of my band in high school, Meat Marinade.
Let's try and focus on Central Barbecue Spot, okay? Have we said Central Barbecue is special enough?
I'm not sure if we can say it enough because Central Barbecue is so special.
Ooh, nice. Going from Central Barbecue is special to Central Barbecue is so special.
That should probably do it.
Central Barbecue is so special. Did you know a percentage of accidents are because people are texting and driving at the same time? If you've been hit by a driver texting and not paying attention to the road, call the law offices of Arthur Horn III. You probably know them for their big cases, but they know your case is big too. Let them represent you. Join the winning team at the law offices of Arthur Horn III. Call today, Arthur Horn III, 901-331-1816. That's 901-331-1816. And please, don't text and drive.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The busiest man in the game of baseball joins us now, Tim Dooling, from a tournament. Oh, really? From where? Somewhere in the United States. I don't know where. Tim, good morning. Where are you? Tim, you there?
I am in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, okay, not that far.
Not too bad.
What is this tournament?
This is the 14U World Wooden Bat Perfect Game National Championship, 196 teams.
Wow. Are you guys in Hoover or?
We are in Hoover, but with that many teams, you're all over. Hoover, Birmingham, Leeds, Alabama, a little bit everywhere.
Do you play at UAB's baseball stadium by any chance?
No, they don't. They don't use UAB's. They use the Met, where the SEC tournament is, and then they added. They built about 5 fields just on the other side of the parking lot from the Met, and then at various high schools in and around Hoover.
Wow, 196 teams, man. What a business. What a business baseball has become, that is for sure. And at the professional level, we are halfway through. I want to ask you about your favorite first-half stories, what you hope for the second half. Let's talk, though, about Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani hit his 35th home run last night. He is now on pace to, I believe, break Aaron Judge's American League record of 62. Does he do it?
You know what? I think he does. It's going to be interesting to see, what happens going down the stretch. Do the Angels trade him?
Yeah.
Who do they trade him to? And to be honest with you, if he breaks it and there is a trade, I think it's just going to be that much more a remarkable feat in the fact that he's going to have to deal with a new team, a team that's in the playoff race, probably a big market. Not that he's not in a big market, but it's going to be a bigger market because I don't think there's going to be a team that's going to trade for him that's not in the race, right? So it's just unbelievable what this guy's been able to accomplish, how athletic he is, how he takes care of his body. And I think the culture that he was raised in, it really put him into a position to have that success because we all know how disciplined their athletes are and the regiments that they go through from an early age all the way leading up to where he's at right now.
I wonder this. Let's say he gets traded across town to the Dodgers. That's the National League. So if he hits 62 or 63, that doesn't break the American League record anymore, right? I mean, what happens there? He'd have at least 35 home runs in the American League.
Well, I think obviously records are made to be broken, and you definitely threw a curveball into that whole scenario if that happens. However, he's a generational talent, so we're going to be talking about him, in all the years ahead of us and years after we're long gone on how remarkable this guy was. He's going to be compared to Babe Ruth, if not better than Babe Ruth on the accomplishments that he's accomplishing now, and he's going to continue. I think the only thing that's going to change, I will say, is that wherever he ends up as a free agent, and as he gets into those later years, I think what's going to happen is he becomes more of a position player, hitter / closer than he will be a starter.
Huh. We talk about Babe, and I mean, let's face it, Babe was baseball. It made baseball the great sport it was in the 20s with those great Yankee teams. But he pitched and then became a hitter. This guy is doing both. And I'm assuming that wherever he's traded to, he will continue to be a two-way guy, don't you think?
I do initially. He's going to be a two-way guy, but Is he going to maintain a every fifth day starting pitching spot, or is he going to go in? He will not go into a setup role. I think because that affects him offensively.
Right.
I think what ends up happening, and I'm not saying it's going to happen originally, or from the onset, but I think as he gets into the back end of this long-term contract that's going to break all the records, I think if that team continues to use him, it's going to be as a closer, not as a starting pitcher.
All right, halfway through the year now, and Ohtani is the best story, I think. What are the other good stories? The start that the Tampa Bay Rays had.
I think to me, the real story is the resurgence of the Reds and their young star. I mean, this guy is electric. I mean, the Pirates have their own version of him, and then this guy comes on. And if you just look at his story, this guy wasn't even a prospect a year and a half ago. He was sitting there with a tremendous amount of potential, raw tools, and then all of a sudden the lights came on, and this guy, he's electric. He reminds me of what happened, when Bo Jackson came in the league. It's like you did not want to miss batting practice.
Right.
You did not want to miss and go to the concession stand because here's a guy that gets on first, steals second, steals third, steals home on basically the same play. I mean, it's like remarkable. And then he's throwing 100 miles an hour across the diamond. He's got unbelievable raw power.
That's crazy. 98 miles an hour. They didn't really register that category until 2015, so it's only been around for 8 years. But that seems phenomenal. In your day, let's say Brooks Robinson or Mike Schmidt, Ron Santo in my day, do you think they threw the ball that hard from third to first?
No, and I can't believe you, of all people, haven't come up with this name. This name should have been at the top of the list, Sean Dunston.
Oh, yeah.
He was the guy.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, this was – Mark Grace would say, I was nervous every time the ball was hit to him because I was, hoping he wouldn't throw it through my glove. And he didn't do anything three quarters. Like, it was all max effort and just a hose. So I would say Sean Dunston in my day was that guy.
Huh. Cool.
There were outfielders. There were outfielders that had cannons for arms, just
right
Barfield,
fielders.
Mark Whit, and guys like that. But nothing like what we're seeing with this guy.
All right. What are you most interested? Give me two good storylines for the rest of the way.
I think one of the interesting storylines is going to be, what does John Mozeliak do with the Cardinals? Is he going to sell? Is he going to trade? Who knows? Because they've never really been in this position. They've been down at the All-Star break, but not 11 games. And they've got a pretty big talent pool in the minor leagues. They've got some extra outfielders still at the big league level. What move does he make to either build for the future or to try to get back in this thing? I don't know that they're going to be able to get back in this race.
Well, it's tough. They're only 12 games under 500, and they're in a lousy division. But they're still 11 games back, not just from the Central Division, because the Brewers and the Reds are starting to play, but they're also 11 games back from the wild card. So it looks pretty dim both ways. Would you trade Arenado? Would you trade Goldschmidt?
I don't know that I would trade those two guys just yet. I think the problem they've got is they've got some salary that's going to be hard to move. I mean, it's going to be hard to move a Paul DeJong, who's just giving you some solid plays. He's not doing near what they expected to when they signed him to this latest deal. So they've got some question marks. There's no doubt about that, and I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know that trading. I don't know that somebody might be in the market for Goldschmidt. I don't know about Arenado because you're going to have to ask for too much in return,
right.
And I don't know if there's going to be a club out there that's going to be willing to give up that in prospect.
Stay cool in Birmingham if you can.
I will.
Good luck to your team, and we'll talk again next Tuesday.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Willow.
Me too. Thank you. That is our man on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. He's brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. The big decision is finally here. you figured out your land opportunities. Either maybe Ken's found you some land. Maybe he's told you how to utilize this land. Maybe you wanted to stay in your present home. You like the location. It feels good, but you want modern amenities. That's called renovation with innovation. Just call Ken because he can work with you anyway. And he does work closely with clients. He knows the financial commitment you're making, which is exactly why he is with you the whole way. Quality construction, on time, on budget. That's the way it's been for 2 generations. Go to kengarland.com. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And then give him a call. He's cool to talk to. Little details, big picture, all at once. Perfect for a great builder. And that's exactly what he is. kengarland.com. And then 751-1632. Just chat with him. That's Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. I'll be gone for about 3 days. I'll be back next Monday. But don't worry, Brian Dacus and J-Mo, they will take over. Be safe. Stay cool. Johnny Radio's next. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
Temperatures are on the rise. Make sure you beat the heat this summer by scheduling your $69 air conditioning tune-up now with Conway Services. An annual AC tune-up can save you money and help prevent costly breakdowns during the hottest months of the year. Visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19668.
Call 384